talk is here. No need to fear. The wait is now gone. So farewell, so long. Cause T-Wolves talk is on. Yeah, T-Wolves talk is on.
I will absolutely be a fan of bass holes now.
All right, guys, how we doing? Welcome to this episode of the Timberwolves Talk live podcast on Friday, December 3rd, 2021. How you doing, Chris?
I'm well, Peyton. I'm really well today. A lot. It seems like it was only, one game against the Wizards, but, obviously with the live stream, it just seems like there's so much more to unpack than maybe there really is.
Right.
It was, I don't want to say everything went wrong in that game, but a lot of things did not, go right, I think, for this team. Karl-Anthony Towns, though, I got to give credit to, man. After a little cold start, kind of just keeping this team in the game. There's not really much more to say than that. He kept the Timberwolves in the game for, the longest time, and obviously, Cat went down. Late in the fourth. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I just want to give a shout out to Cat, shout out to Nas for being those guys that kept us in the game.
Yeah, Cat even had a really slow start to that game, but he stayed confident, kept shooting, and honestly, that was some of the better basketball I've seen him play once his shots started to fall. Quite interesting that they decided to put Kyle Kuzma on him, just a complete mismatch. And I'm really happy that D'Angelo Russell, Chris Finch, and Karl-Anthony Towns, we kind of figured out that that's what was working, and we really took advantage of it. There was about 5 or 6 possessions back to back to back to back where Carl just got an easy shot.
Like, Carl, even had Kuzma on him and was doing his, speed move to the rim and was very successful at it. Kuzma actually posted a story the other day. I don't know if you saw it, but he said, Karl-Anthony Towns, I'm never guarding you again, man. Put me in the ice bath for the entire night. I thought that was pretty funny. But it was interesting, them having Kuzma on Cat, because you feel like, obviously the guys Cat struggles with a little bit are the tough-nosed guys, and Montrezl Harrell's kind of the, definition of a hard guy to play against.
Yeah, I feel like Montrezl would have just locked him down. Shout out to Montrezl Harrell, man. He's a phenomenal player. He plays like he's a lot older than just a 6-year vet in the league. Doesn't he seem like he's one of those guys that's been around for 12, 13 seasons? Kind of that Andre Iguodala type player with the longevity.
Yeah, he really does, man. He's very good at finding his spot. And he, a lot of the times when we were in the zone or even in man, he would be running the baseline and he'd just find that opening. And, credit to the likes of Spencer Dinwiddie, Caldwell Pope, Kuzma for feeding him, getting the ball to him down in the paint. And you also got to give it for Gafford too. I mean, the bigs for the Wizards kind of took over the game. And that was more so the story of the game for me. Where I thought, Dinwiddie played okay. I thought Beal played just average for what he can do. And I didn't think any of the perimeter guys for the Wizards really killed us.
No. And I was saying this a lot during the stream, but when you have a team like that with not the most amount of talent, they seem to have a lot of middle tier type players, a lot of role players, a lot of really good role players in that. You got to look for other things in that team that they're doing as a reason why they're successful. And what they did was they all knew their roles. They passed the ball phenomenally, and they played great defense. And that's the reason why they're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. And, we would have had to give it 100% in that game, and we didn't end up doing that. And that's why we lost to the Washington Wizards. It's not really a game to hang your head about. They're a very good team this year.
I think, a point's to be made about the Wizards' wins this year. Obviously we all know the Eastern Conference is getting better top heavy wise, but they're still the worst. I stand by this. They're still the worst conference in the NBA at the moment.
The worst bottom teams, out of how many?
Out of 2, but the bottom teams in the Eastern Conference are just god awful, and that's who the Wizards have feasted upon. And credit to them for winning the games they're supposed to, because the Timberwolves had that opportunity earlier in the season too to kind of beat some of those lower tier Western Conference teams. And they missed the mark, especially on a Pelicans game. They missed a mark on a Magic game, an Eastern Conference game. So you got to credit the Wizards for getting wins where they're supposed to, and you got to credit them for what I noticed the most in that game was the Wizards moving the ball. They moved the ball, got us lost on defense. You saw the amount of switches we were doing, and that resulted in easy mismatches and a lot of wide open guys, to be honest.
Yeah, it was like I was having fun watching them. Like I usually hate watching a team just thrash the Wolves, but it was great basketball. That's how you teach basketball. Let's get into some bad things about that game that it's tough to talk about, but we have to. D'Angelo Russell, man, he was coming off of so much praise. I feel like that was the highest Wolves fans have been on D'Angelo Russell, maybe ever since he's came to the Wolves. I guess maybe besides that initial period when we first got D'Angelo Russell, I feel like after that 76ers game, people were so excited, just praising him about how great of a player he was, and then he is in the fourth quarter. And then for him to drop that terrible shooting night against the Wizards. How does that happen? How do you go? What did he go? 3 for 16 or something?
Yeah, he went three for 16 from the field, and the biggest stat to me was the 1 for 12 from the 3-point line. And D'Angelo Russell's actually shooting a career low right now, 3-point percentage wise. He's usually around the 36-ish percent mark, and actually last year he almost hit 39%. This year he's shooting around 32.3, I believe, at the moment, and it's I don't know. I admit D'Angelo Russell had a bad game last night. You know, anytime you shoot 1 for 12 from the 3-point line and you shoot 3 of 16 from the field, it's a bad game. However, I think everything else D'Angelo Russell did should be praised to an extent. I think D'Lo is still having some of the most influential games of his career at the moment. Even in the Wizards game, I thought he ran the offense tremendously. I really do. I thought the offense looked a lot smoother in the second half than it did. I thought he passed the ball well, and I'm not going to let anyone discredit D'Angelo Russell's effort on defense anymore. You know, whether or not it's productive to an extent is questionable, but he is a average to above average defender now, and I'll stand behind that.
For D'Angelo Russell, that's pretty high praise. And yeah, we talked about this on the live stream, obviously, and a lot of people on Timberwolves Twitter have been pointing this out. But when he's in the backside of that zone, he is barking out plays. He's telling people where to go. He's really leading this team defensively. And he's doing that offensively. We've talked about his chemistry with Coach Finch. He's really maturing into a leader, and he's starting to play like a veteran. The thing about D'Angelo Russell is you want to see his offensive production kind of even out here. We don't want these big mountains, ups and downs, because with a veteran player like that, you need consistency. And I feel like D'Angelo Russell has been a little too inconsistent offensively this year. And if we're going to be that successful playoff team, we need him to be more consistent. But yes, he's stepped up his defense, he's stepped up his communication, and he's been a great leader for us.
I think I agree. I think D'Angelo Russell is having the most influential season of his career so far, and I still think he's playing better than he did in Brooklyn at the moment. And I think that's, you know, I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I think he's doing more things right now than he did in Brooklyn. I really do believe this big three hasn't all meshed yet for one game this season. Obviously, the Grizzlies game was good. There are a lot of great things from that game, but I don't know if we've really seen these three completely take over a game yet, you know, consecutively and doing it together. I think it's always either 2 out of the 3 or 1 out of the 3. I'd really like to see these guys, you know, take over a game altogether at one point.
Yeah, it would be nice, especially because it seems like it's just been so much of a solo guy operation at points. It's one guy, then he passes the baton to the next guy, and then he passes it. And you're right. We need to see a little bit more teamwork, a little bit more consistency of all three of these guys playing together. And could you tell last game that Ant was feeling under the weather and Vando? Because I definitely noticed.
Yeah, I mean, for sure you could tell. You know, usually Vando is one of the most active players, or is the most active player on the floor, and obviously, you know, I don't blame him, man. He's probably feeling really sick. I think he was doing. I don't think effort was an issue at all.
No.
Actually against the Wizards, I thought everyone was playing their tails off. But yeah, it's gonna affect you, stamina wise, and it did for Ant and Vando. And I think Ant, even more to an extent, was like you said during the stream. I think he was a little sluggish, especially out the gate. He was kind of like he was. It seemed like he wasn't even on the floor. But I thought Ant kind of pulled together a good game for what he could do. And I think Ant giving you 25 on high 40s efficiency when he's coming down with the flu is, I think that's a winnable game if he can give you that. Any game. It came down to the fact of D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley again, and I hate to point those two out, but that kind of seemed like the common theme so far for this season, that if those guys could score an extra like 15 more combined, like, a lot of these games would be a different way, and who knows what the record would be. So it's one of those things you can't really dwell on, though. You just gotta progress and hope it happens soon.
Yeah, and that's something I also want to touch on. I mean, we didn't play the best game. D'Angelo Russell shot horribly. Malik Beasley, did he even play that game? No Jaden McDaniels. Vando had no energy. Cat was out the last few minutes of the game. I feel like if Cat would have been in the last few minutes, it would have been a whole different. We would have had a way bigger chance to win that game. And we still were in the game until the end. I think that's something that the old Timberwolves, they would have ended up losing by 20, 25 in that game. But we still managed to keep it close, keep it competitive, despite all those negative factors going into it. And I think that's a positive thing that we can look at from this game.
I also want to pull one negative out of the game from Cat. Was the 3-pointer. The 3-pointer kick out. He, first of all, Montrez ran into him anyway first, and if you're Karl Anthony Towns, you don't even need to kick your leg out. He already ran into you. Why are you kicking your leg out? And that would have brought the game within 3, and that would have been a giant momentum boost. But we were within 3 even without Cat on the floor at one point. I think Cat got it to 107 to. I don't have the exact numbers off my head, but Cat got it within 5 on that dunk where he hurt himself. And I mean, you can't expect the guy who's been carrying the offense all game when he goes out to just everything's fine again. I do think this is one of those learning games. There were so many things that this team learned from. I feel like this game, and it was. I think the next time we play the Wizards, I think it's going to be a completely different story.
Yeah, we definitely. I think we are the better team than the Washington Wizards, and that that's even something that we couldn't say last year or even in the beginning of the season. I think we've matured so much as a team that it's been fun, man. Have you been having more fun covering the team? I feel like spirits are up for everyone.
Oh yeah, I mean we're 11-11 and having the time of our lives. The bar's pretty low for Timberwolves success, man. But kind of. I do want to touch on Malik Beasley, and I really hate to, man. I want to have Malik Beasley praise, but he had one game against the Heat for 29, and then he had the 115-point game. I don't know who it was against. It was within that stretch, though. Like, he's not doing it right now, man. I want to be able to say Malik's had some good games, but he really can't. And when you're a role player and you have that one thing you contribute to the team and you can't do that one thing, you're not going to be able to see the floor as much. And that's kind of been the story for Malik these past few games, is he's got less minutes because Finch can't trust him yet with this shot.
Yeah, and as the biggest Malik Beasley supporter that there is, I 100% agree with that, man. In the NBA, everyone's good. Everyone can do basically everything at a pretty good level, to put it that simply. But so every single player, if you're going to be able to play in the NBA, you have to excel at a certain role. Every single player has a role that they're good at, and Malik is shooting. And if you're not doing your one job that you're supposed to do, you're not going to see minutes. And how can Malik Beasley get more minutes? Start hitting shots. It's quite simple. He's a great shooter. He's averaged a great amount of points, great average over his career. If he can just start making shots, hitting shots, Coach Finch has to leave him out there, and that's how he's going to prove it. It's quite simple, and I have no problem with him getting less minutes if he's not hitting his shots.
Yeah, and the thing I really wanted to touch on was I was listening to Dane the other day, and he mentioned something really interesting. Or it was either Dane or Ben Becken from Locked On Wolves. But so they mentioned out of the 44 highest volume 3-point shooters, we have 3 of those guys. And they're actually, top 10 in how many threes they take out of those 44% or out of those 44 volume shooters. And what those shooters are Malik Beasley, D'Lo, and Ant. And Malik Beasley is shooting lower than Ant from 3 this season. I don't know if you knew that. He's shooting 32%. Ant's shooting about 35%.
Which is
like
great
I said,
for
and
Ant.
D'Lo's shooting 34. Would you have thought Ant would have a better 3-point percentage than those guys?
No, never.
And we rank in the bottom third. All 3 of those guys rank in the bottom third of those efficiency of those volume shooters, even though they're on the upper part of attempts for those volume shooters. So it's tough to justify the means at the moment of us taking this many threes with how much we're making them, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I think our best 3-point shooter on the team is Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
And he's not even in the top 3 for attempts. Is that what you're saying?
He's not part of the 44 volume shooters in the NBA, what they classify it as. That goes to show that Cat's, I don't know if he's hit the most threes on the team this season, but I would go out on a limb and say he's probably hit the most threes for our team this season. And he doesn't take as much. Like that Cat's shooting career high from the 3-point line right now. It's 42%, I believe. So when you take that into account, how good of a shooter he is on the amount of attempts he needs, Cat has just been the efficiency master this season. I can't describe it, man. He's playing. I know the points per game are lower than his career averages at the moment. I think he had a season where he almost averaged 27, but everything he does is so effortless this season. And it's really good.
Besides
that dunk.
Besides back down smaller defenders.
But hey, I think he's shown improvement. I think his hook shot the past few games has been unstoppable. If you're going to put a smaller defender on you, he's going to show you he's just going to do a jump hook over you, and he made it pretty much every single time I saw. I don't think he's guardable right now. I think he is. I know there was debate at the beginning of the season who's the best player on this team, but I don't think there's a debate at all. I think he's light years ahead of Anthony Edwards at the moment of where he's at.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards, man, he is not.
He's young, man. He's 20
so
years old.
He's literally
20 years old.
Exactly, man. He's barely been on this team for a year, maybe like a year and a month. He's been on this team. He's gonna have ups and downs. He's gonna have bad efficiency. It's part of the growing up process. But it's good that we have a guy like Karl Anthony Towns. And for everyone saying that we should trade Karl Anthony Towns and build around Ant, what happens when we trade Karl Anthony Towns, Chris? You probably don't know.
You're probably the Oklahoma City Thunder, man. I don't know what you're getting out of it.
Well, no,
but
you're gonna have to draft. You're getting.
Yeah, you're getting 4 first-round picks, and you're not gonna know what those 4 are.
But at least one of them.
You can harp on like the Cat attitude, the Cat complaining, but this team without Cat is legitimately nothing. Like I hope we all know that.
And we noticed this last game in particular. Karl Anthony Towns, sometimes when he complains, man, it is completely like. It's understandable. There was a sequence in the game where he got hit with the body and the arms, didn't call a foul. Goes back the other way, straight up, they call a foul on him, and he's starting to complain. I mean, at some point, that has to get very frustrating, especially when it's leading him to get taken out of the game or foul out of the game.
Yeah, and I think he deserves the superstar whistle after what he's done, I think, so far in this season. There hasn't been one big that shut Karl Anthony Towns down, and he's played some good defenders. He's absolutely dominated Jonas Valanciunas in both games that they've played, and he absolutely dominated Embiid on the offensive end. And I think there's a lot of talk that Embiid is so much better than Karl Anthony Towns, and I think you can make the argument that he is. I'm not discrediting Embiid at all. He dropped 40 on us and kept the Sixers in that game. But Karl Anthony Towns did dominate Embiid that game, and I don't think there's any question to Karl's offensive skill. I think he's the most skilled offensive big in the league at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's without question, honestly. What was I going to say? So yeah, so if you're the Timberwolves, so Karl Anthony Towns a little sore tonight going into the game. What would you do personally? Would you play him or would you let him get that rest?
Personally, I think he just deserves a rest game, especially against the Nets. I don't think we need to put him out there if he's still tailbone, still sore. I mean, I don't know. It's a tough game.
At some point, dude, like you see all these main stars in the league, they're just sitting out games just to sit out games. LeBron sitting out a bunch of games. I think you got to give him that rest, especially if he's just questionable, if he's not fully able to play. Give him a rest up till Monday. It's a marathon, not a sprint, man.
Yeah, you also have to take in mind though that some teams have the luxury of resting their superstars, and the Timberwolves do not have that luxury. And those guys are young. I mean, I'm okay with the 26-year-old playing every single game in the season. It's just if he's hurt, I don't want Cat playing. It's not worth it at the end of the day in a season where we're competing for a spot in the playoffs.
Right. So we got Jaden is staying back in Minnesota tonight, which wow, the flu really hit him hard, man. The flu hit him. It hit him hard. I'm not gonna say
you did make a comment. I think we have to bring the comment to light. It's not even a bad comment, but what'd you say? You said
he's just kind of frail compared to if anyone on the team was gonna get just destroyed by the flu, it probably was gonna be Jaden McDaniels, and I love the guy, but he's a little frail. I can't say that I'm not, but yeah. So McDaniels staying home, getting that extra rest. Hopefully he'll be back by the Hawks game. Vando and Ant, I'm guessing they're going to play. Anthony Edwards never misses a game. Vando, hopefully he has a little bit more energy this time. Cat, questionable. I could go either way with him playing or not. And then Pat Bev, actually, he participated in a scrimmage yesterday or today at the end of practice. So he's starting to get ready to be able to play again. So, hopefully this injury crisis or sickness crisis is past us so we can get back to being a healthy team.
Yeah, hopefully we can get Bev back. I think we for sure will get Bev back at some point next week if everything goes right. Yeah, we're lucky, we're getting the sickness out of the way earlier in the season, and I mean we actually averted crisis with Karl Anthony Towns, man. I was looking up what a fractured tailbone would entail, and it's like 2 months. So I mean that would be detrimental to the season. So we're really lucky it was only a tailbone. I think it was just a bone bruise, tailbone contusion. We're very lucky in that aspect.
Yeah, man. I mean, I hate to say it, Chris, but we're one injury away from crisis.
Depending on the player, I think.
I guess, but at the same time, you lose D'Angelo Russell for a couple months.
I think you can right the ship with just Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. I don't think you can right the ship with just D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards. Is the thing. I think you saw, the past few seasons, we saw a major Cat injury with the broken, was it finger or hand? I think hand.
Wrist,
or wrist, yeah. And then D'Lo had the massive, he had the bone debris taken out of his leg for surgery. And you saw what happened when it was just D'Angelo Russell, and you saw what happened when it was just Karl Anthony Towns. And it was very apparent the team played a lot better when it was just Karl Anthony Towns. So, I mean, I'm not discrediting D'Angelo Russell at all. He's a major piece of this team. But do I think Patrick Beverley can fill in admirably for a few weeks if it happened? I really do think he could.
Yeah, because every team.
And Balmero would have to step up into a bigger role, and I don't even want to talk about this. I don't want to.
No, this is terrible. This is horrible. No. But you brought up a great point in Balmero. How do you think he's played so far? He's honestly, I hate to say it, he's been a little underwhelming for me, but obviously that's expected. I mean, we all had such high expectations from him. He's a young kid, but he has been a little underwhelming, I think. Yeah,
I mean, I think he's just been. He's obviously he's a 21st pick in the first round, and a lot of you gotta think like a lot of first rounders don't pan out. Most of them don't really do. I mean.
But you can say
I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that.
First round pick. He should you can get a 4-year. You can get a 4-year vet in college that late in the first round, and they can be an impact player day one.
Yeah, and
so Yeah.
I think Balmero just needs to try to find his role a little bit more within the team, and I thought he showed some good flashes. I thought that layup was pretty good.
Yeah.
Me and Peyton kind of went crazy on stream when we saw him get to the cup there, and I think that's what he needs to do. I think he is pretty crafty once he gets inside. I think it's him knowing that there's other scoring options on the team more proven than him, and he's more likely to defer to them off a pick and roll than he would be to just take it to the rim. And I think once he starts gaining that confidence, I mean, dude, he's had like 4 NBA games. I mean, you saw how long it took Ant at the beginning of the season, and it's going to take Balmero even longer because Ant's possibly a generational prospect. So it's going to take him a little bit to get acclimated, and it's probably going to take him this season and maybe the next season. So he's a project player. I'm not too worried.
No. Yeah, he is going to be. You can see the flashes of greatness, and I'm looking at the comments now for the first time. Aiden Habeck said Balmero is trying to do everything right and not force things right now, and I think that's a great way to put it. He's just trying, and you can tell he's not playing fluently. He's not playing naturally. He's not letting the game come to him. He's trying to do everything right, and
I think in trying to do that though, I think he's trying to do everything right too much.
Yeah,
he's trying to be too like lenient, too pass first.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not really hurting the team having him out there. It's just kind of like a neutral threat. I mean, he's playing great defense, so it's almost like a Kogi in a way. Offensively, he's just keeping the ball moving, getting it to our other scorers, but we know he's capable of more. And it's just going to have to be him getting used to the NBA game. And I think, honestly, when we talked to Darren, he said he didn't think Balmero was going to play till, March, or if we clinched a playoff spot? I mean, I see Balmero being having a decent role in this team by then, if he can get into the offense.
It's apparent what he could do. We've seen what he did in the G League. He's throwing up almost triple doubles every single time he plays. He's way too talented to be in the G League, and he's it just goes to show. I think he's a little nervous so far. I don't think he knows his teammates probably too well yet. It's going to take some time. I'm excited though if he can be a rotational player in the future, and I think he could be a good piece.
I think he can be a starter in the future. I think there's no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind that if we decide to move on from D'Angelo Russell here in the future, I think that if Balmero progresses the way that I expect him to, I think that he can fill that starting point guard role. That's how special I think the guy is. If you've watched his Iowa Wolves highlights, I mean, that's not just like an average player. He is special, and I think we're gonna see that soon here.
And he was ripping the rim, dude, in G League. He was hitting a lot of shots. Like he's not I think he was shooting the ball tremendously in the G League, man. I think he was hitting almost 40% of his threes down there. So it was good to see.
That's why in that 76ers game when he was wide open for threes, everyone was kind of like, "Why aren't you shooting, dude?" Like Jim Pete kept saying it, like Balmero needs to shoot that. He is wide open, and like Pete knows that how good he is of a shooter. So yeah, we just need to see the confidence, and you can tell when Balmero's out there. Sometimes Ant and like Cat are like, "What are you like? What's going on?" Like they, I swear there was one time where Balmero like dribbled over to give Ant a handshake or a dribble handoff, and Ant was like, "What?" Like so literally, he was like, "What are you doing?" Like so, I think it comes with them needing to get used to the way he plays.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to bring up, man, dude, Josh Okogie with a 40% 3-point jumper. Do you think he's one of the best two-way players in the league if he has that?
I think if he has a 30% if he has a 35% 3-point shooter, dude, it's so frustrating.
He'd be one of the best 3-and-D guys in the league if he had a decent 3-point shot. Is the crazy part. And
it's not, and the thing is just abysmal. I don't know what his 3-point numbers are, but Chris,
the form's not bad. That's why I have hope. I don't know
how many Wolves games have we watched in the last 2 seasons?
God, pretty much every single one.
And I think Okogie, like he might have missed some time last year, but And he missed a few games this year, but he's played in most of those games. When we have players out, Okogie's usually the guy that steps in and gets those extra minutes. I think I've only seen him make 3 threes. And 2 of them were back-to-back in the beginning of the season. And then I remember there was one last year where I was like, oh, Kogi actually made a corner 3. That's how rare it is that he makes a corner 3.
It's just like it just kills me, man. You know, he's 24, still super young, and he's or 23 or 24, and he's one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. I think he's extremely athletic, and he's a great on-ball defender. He's a extremely underrated passer for this team. I think he knows the offense and he knows where to find guys. It's just he's such a non-factor to score the ball. It's the effect where they can go double Cat, and when Cat gets doubled, we obviously see him get flustered or kick it out. But you can't kick it out to the open guy because he's not going to shoot it.
Yeah, and he exactly what you're saying. When he is on the court, they don't guard him. Like there's
it is a Vando.
It is a Vando, but yeah, I mean, so at some point, Coach Finch had to choose: am I going to have Vando or Kogi out there? Who am I going to give more minutes to? Because they're technically basically doing the same thing. They're playing great defense, great hustle, great passing, but they can't shoot. So I can't have them both out there at the same time, and I can't have one of them out there the whole game.
I think it came down to rebounding. It's they needed not that Okogi's a bad rebounder. It's just Vando has shown. I think Vando's shown more in the games that he's played over the games that Kogi's played.
But I want to touch on this. I just saw this on Twitter right before we came on the stream. This is Kogi's kind of his game. He's playing against James Harden, the guy who he had one of the best defensive highlights, maybe of all time in the NBA, where he just locked him up in the Prince jerseys. So I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of Kogi minutes tonight on Harden, and I'm hoping that he can just shut Harden down, take him out of the game.
That'd be fun. I would be down for that. It'll be interesting to see how they match up against the Nets. The Nets have a good amount of size, man. They got some extremely, Claxton's a big body. KD's obviously a freak in the starting lineup. I would assume Vando's probably going to be on KD tonight. You got Harden. You're lucky though, because you get to play the Nets without Kyrie, and we have no clue if the NBA is going to change their vaccine policy. So we don't know if Kyrie's going to get to play all season. So, but that's what I'm saying. You got to take advantage right now when you play the Nets.
Yeah.
But the Nets are 15 and 15-5 even without, or 15 and something without Kyrie. Like they're still a top tier team in this league. So it's going to be a tough game.
This is one of those games where I think, just given the circumstances, away game, it's going to be a hard one. But if we can come in and win this game with these circumstances, then that's going to show a lot about this team. But my expectations tonight are not super high, and I hate to say that, but it's the NBA, man. I have a gut feeling I think Carl's going to play tonight, and I say that because he gets clowned on I think a lot, but he does play through injury. Pretty much every minor injury he has, he plays through. So I don't know. A tailbone contusion is obviously painful, and I'm sure a lot of guys would sit that out. I just don't think Carl's going to sit it out tonight. I think you're probably going to see him in some form. I don't know why. You made a great point on that earlier in this, saying that some teams, they have the luxury of sitting out stars in games, but the Timberwolves, we don't have that luxury, to be honest, man. We need to bring it every game. So this is going to be a telling game, I think, for the Wolves. But if we do not end up winning this game, the panic button does not need to be pushed. I think Wolves fans were so quick to push the panic button after like a 2-game losing skid, or because we're so used to that. We're so accustomed to the team turning a 2-game losing streak into a 15-game losing streak, or a 6-game losing streak into a 15. Like usually losses pile up with the Wolves, but I think the Wolves are different this year, man. I really can say that.
Sure hope so, man. It seems like there's been one guy who's had to shoulder the load these past 2 years. Now he has a little help. We have some promise now. I don't know. Did you see that LeBron or the Cat comparing himself to what LeBron had to do in Cleveland?
When did he do that?
It was the other day. He went on press conference and he said like he felt like he had to kind of play almost the LeBron role for the Cavaliers for the Timberwolves, which I don't. I'm obviously he's not comparing himself to LeBron James. He's saying his role was the same throughout these years, and I can't disagree with him because he has been the only guy who's been somewhat of a scoring threat besides Wiggins or a young Levine, D'Angelo.
You're right.
I'm not hating on those guys, but it's. I mean, Cat's a better option than that.
Did he say anything about how this year it feels a little bit better, or is he saying that still this year he's still playing that Cleveland LeBron role?
He said this year he's kind of changed his mindset where he knows he has help now and he's able to, take some off his plate, which I think is obviously the right thing to say. I mean, the right thing to do. He doesn't need to do it all by himself. I think that's where a lot of players. There's only a couple players in the NBA that can really shoulder a load completely by themselves,
and Cat's not one of them.
Cat's probably not one of them. Yeah,
I mean, he's not. If we've seen in the last few years how the Wolves have been when he has been playing that LeBron role, is we're not getting LeBron results. So, that's no discredit to Cat. I mean, you have to be a very special talent to do that. So, but now that he has help, I think he's played his role phenomenally. Like he can go get you 24 points, a quiet 24 on amazing efficiency, and just be that rock for the team. Get us a basket when we need it.
He'll get you more than 20. Like I truly do think Karl Anthony Towns is a 30 point per game scorer when he wants to be, and that's the thing. It is no discredit to him. I think obviously the teams he's been on are just horrible, man. Some of these Wolves, I'll make the argument that some of these Wolves teams are worse than LeBron's Cavs team. Like I think LeBron at least had some role players on those teams, but all Cat had some years was you can't even name the names. You don't even know. Like he had some starting lineups with Shabazz, Napier. Yeah,
Alexis Shafed, Shabazz Muhammad.
There's only a select few, people in the NBA that can carry a team by themselves. And I think it's probably LeBron. Like LeBron, Dame has done it one or two times. Curry's does it. I mean, you can make the argument that even Giannis wasn't able to do it to start the season. I mean, the Bucks started off losing a little bit, then once before they got Holiday back, and I think Giannis can do it, but it's just no one's like LeBron. Like LeBron's the only player that can do it efficiently, and I think Cat just needs to take that off his shoulders.
Yeah. So I think we should wrap it up here. We had a good talk here. We got a few comments I just want to acknowledge. Aiden Habik said, would y'all be in on Bol? We got Bees and Vando from the Nuggets, cheap. They don't give him minutes. Would you be interested in Bol, Chris?
Ball's an interesting player because everyone's so high on Ball, and I'm not saying I'm not high on. Like I think he's a decent player. It's just I don't know how he'd fit on this team, honestly, because he's a very methodical player, whereas we're a really fast-paced team. So I don't know how Ball would work on the Timberwolves, if I'm being honest.
I don't think he'd see many minutes on the Timberwolves either.
No,
if I'm going to be honest.
That's saying something. If Ball wouldn't see any minutes on the Timberwolves,
well,
I mean,
the comparison I'm drawing is Nate Knight. I feel like him and Nate Knight, position-wise, are kind of in the same position, and I would much rather have Nathan Knight on the team than Bol at this moment, and Nate Knight's not seeing any clock at all. Even when we're down a few bigs, Nate Knight isn't even seeing the court. So
Ball's like a 7'3" forward to an extent. There's potential. He's a player we haven't seen. Yeah, he's a player we haven't really seen.
There's amazing potential there, and I think he needs to be on a team where he's going to get some clock and an opportunity. I just don't know if the Timberwolves are that team that he could get that opportunity on. So I don't know if it's the best fit for Bol. I think he needs to go to the G League if he's not already in the G League. I'm not a huge Bol follower, but he needs to get in the G League and get his minutes up and just get that repetition. I think he should have stayed in college a few more years and developed because he's such a raw prospect.
I would hope, I was kind of really inspired by what Mo Bamba did the past season. I think Mo was kind of just one of those stash on the bench type players. This year with his role increasing, he's been one of the best big man defenders in the paint. I think he's up there with Gobert and Miles Turner as some of the best shot blockers in the league. And I think maybe Ball can aspire to be something like that. I don't know if they're the same type of player, but
Ball's a unicorn, man. He really, I don't even, is that Ball? Yeah, like he's gonna be, he has potential. He's like in 2K, so I like to bring comparisons to my 2K my career because I just started up a few days ago. Fun fact, Chris, leading the league in 3-pointers attempted, last in the league in 3-point percentage. I'm shooting 21% from threes. But what was I gonna say? Oh, my player has A+ potential, but he's like a 61 overall. So that's kind of what I'm drawing the comparison to Bol. He has the potential, but does he have the skill set right now to make an impact in the NBA? I don't think so.
I mean, it's just there's a new wave of players coming in that are kind of like Ball. Like you're going to see Chet coming to the NBA next year, and he's kind of the same. I'm not going to compare Chet to Ball because Chet can handle the ball at 7 feet tall and is an incredible shooter. So I mean, we'll have to see what Chet does because Chet's kind of the first guy coming into the league that's that huge, really skinny guy besides KD that's going to have those ball handling skills. So we'll see what happens because there's a lot more guys coming up that are like that.
I think maybe we could end up seeing Chet be a pioneer for a player like Bol. Maybe Bol is going to be on the bench the next few years until Chet, who's more skilled, can show the league, show coaches how to handle a player like that, and then maybe we can see a player like Bol follow in his footsteps. So it'd be kind of a backwards way, but I could see that happening.
Because you see a lot of these guys who are always compared to KD coming up in the league. Like Jaden McDaniels is one of the more prevalent examples today, and it just goes to show how good Kevin Durant is, man. Like there is no player that can emulate what he does at that size. And NBA history, no one's ever been able to do it at that.
And Chris, I think we're going to see a great example of Kevin Durant tonight because I love Jared Vanderbilt, but I think Kevin Durant is. He might end up tonight.
Kevin Durant's the possible MVP this year, so I mean it's gonna be a brutal night going against him. But
what you got to do is you got to limit Kevin Durant. You know he's gonna get 30, maybe even 40 points. What you have to do is limit him and maybe make the other guys beat you because you know he's gonna get those 40. But 40 points doesn't win an NBA game unless you're playing the Thunder.
There's a few players in the NBA like when the Timberwolves play against them, like LeBron, Curry, Giannis, but Kevin Durant's that one guy. When we go up against him, I'm like, oh shit, we are in for a long night. I love watching him play, man.
I know
it's
you
just
do. You're the biggest. You're the biggest
do.
Kevin Durant fan I know for some reason. You're a huge huge KD guy. Before we wrap this up, Jared O in the comments says, "Hey dudes, maybe trade for Andre Drummond." I'm gonna tackle this, Chris, first because I was at John Krasinski's live show last night in Hopkins. I was sitting alone at a 4-top. I had nothing to do. So it's a Thursday night. Either you go to AYCD at the local bar, play a little Pong, and either you do that and I was like, you know what? Might as well just take the hour drive to Hopkins, go see John Krasinski, one of the biggest role models that we have in the Minnesota sports reporting game, see him live. And someone went up on the stage and asked him this question: Who's the type of player we can get to complement Cat? And basically, what they said is that we already basically have the perfect pairing for Cat, and that is a Naz Reid type player. So they kind of went away from the Andre Drummonds, the huge 7-footers that you can't really spread the floor with, and basically said you need a guy like Naz Reid to complement Cat. And I'd like to get your opinion on that.
I mean, you know how I feel. I don't think a 7-foot rim runner works in the Timberwolves offense. I think we attempt the most threes in the NBA by a large margin. If you look at the numbers right now, we're like, I believe it's like 20 more 3-pointers than the next team. So we attempt a lot of 3-pointers, and I don't know. I guess maybe the right player, like maybe a Brook Lopez, but I mean, there's no way you're getting him, obviously, and there's no players out there available like that. So I don't think this team needs to change up its big man position.
What John said was he said like the perfect fit next to Cat would be like a Serge Ibaka in his prime, a type of player like that, and a type of player like that does not come regularly. What about who's the guy that the Cavs got? I feel like he would have been
Oh man, Evan Mobley, I am the highest on him in that class than anyone. I even over Cade Cunningham at this point. And I think Cade could be a better player, but Evan Mobley is my pick for rookie of the year, either him or Scotty Barnes, man. He's been
Not even Josh Giddey.
dude, from the shot blocking to the defense to the shooting, man, he's special. And we talked about if we had our pick, he was Peyton and I's number one. Like that's who
Not
we wanted
Jalen
was
Suggs.
Evan Mobley.
Not Jalen Suggs. We got
Not
the
Jalen
most
Suggs.
hate. We got the most hate that we have ever got in our lives when we said that if the Wolves got the second pick in the draft, they should not take Jalen Suggs.
No, and we accept that hate, but also I mean, I would rather have Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham, and Jalen Green over Jalen Suggs, and that's
And
not
Scotty
a hot
Barnes.
take.
And Scotty
And
Barnes.
Scotty Barnes, yeah,
And
that's
maybe-
not a hot take.
Maybe even Josh Giddey.
No, not Josh Giddey. I
well,
would take Suggs over you.
I'm only saying Josh Giddey because I'm on the Thunder and my player, so I play next to him all the time, and I love the way he plays. He blends in with the court. We have a City Edition court, the Thunder City Edition court. Have you seen it? It's like looks like
it's like the gray one, right?
yeah, it
It's
looks
the
like an
gray one.
ice rink, and like when we're wearing those City Edition jerseys on that white court, you can't see him sometimes, and it actually is hilarious. But
He's an Aussie, isn't he?
I
Or
don't
something
know.
like-
He's something
he
like
is.
he came out of
I like
nowhere.
Giddey though, man. I do like Josh Giddey. He's fun to watch. And on a team where there's not many people, I think Shea's out. I think Shea has a little injury right now too, actually. So I mean, if you're a Thunder fan, that's kind of all you're.
Well, there's
all you
nothing
get to
fun about
watch.
watching the Thunder except for them breaking records. I'm surprised the Timberwolves didn't break that record in the last few seasons. The 70-point differential and a loss. I'm ecstatic that it's not us having to deal with that negative press.
Yeah, man, that was a hell of a loss by the Thunder to the Grizzlies, man.
And a point I
They
want to
scored
bring up.
5 points, didn't they, in the fourth?
I think so. A point I want to bring up is we beat the Grizzlies by 40. The Grizzlies beat the Thunder by 70. So does that mean when we match up with the Thunder here in a month or so, are we going to beat them by 110 points? Is that what the spread's going to be? Minus 110?
I mean, hey, I wish that's how NBA math works, but I it's gonna be nice getting a back-to-back Thunder and then a back-to-back Pelicans right off the rip in February.
All right,
I'm
Chris,
excited for that.
I am too. That's going to be, unless they come out of tank mode and just end up beating us, it's a game I could see the Wolves losing, if I'm going to be honest with you.
No, I think we'll sweep the Thunder, hopefully, in that 2-game skid.
I would hope so. All right, I want to end this with a trivia question in the comment section. I know that Chris is going to have trouble answering this. So the first person that can answer this question in the comment section, we will give you a shout out on our Instagram, Timberwolves_talk_ on Instagram. Chris, don't answer this question if you know it, but I don't think you do. Who is the best basketball player to come out of Louisiana Lafayette in the last 10 years? If you can put that in the comment section, we will shout you out on the Instagram channel. On the Instagram. Do you know the answer to that, Chris?
I know a
Without-
few players from Louisiana Lafayette. I could probably pick out the best one, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll put that in the comment section. Anything else you'd like to say, Chris, before we end this glorious podcast?
I don't know. I'm feeling bottle half full tonight against the Nets. Actually, for some reason,
Is
I
the
don't know
bottle
why.
going to be empty after the game? Is the question.
all the water might be gone after the game, but
No, we're not saying water. We're saying with your habits during the live streams, is the bottle going to be empty?
All right, no more of that. No. Nope.
All right, guys. Have a great rest.
I'm just not gonna drink anymore.
There you go. That's a perfect way to handle the situation. All right, guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday. Stay safe this weekend. Drive safe. Looks like we're gonna get a little snow out here in Minnesota.